We have our first major update for Remnant 2, and this one is a doozy. There is a lot of stuff in here, including nerfs to 2 community favorite weapons. So those are going to see a slight step back. Honestly, a lot of us knew this was coming, but it still sucks to see. But there's a lot of buffs in here as well, especially to some of the archetypes that are out there that are underperforming. So let's go ahead, let's dive in, and let's talk about what exactly is changing and whether or not the builds you're rocking are going to take a step forward or a step back. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip through the little intro here. There were some additional improvements to performance, additional optimizations, updates to improve hitching and potential crashes. Crashes were something I ran into, I'm not gonna say a lot, but I did crash probably 4 or 5 times since launch. So that is something I'm glad to see catch some improvements. Okay, so let's talk about quality of life. So the quality of life overview they have here, one of the things they really wanted to touch on is making sure players had more freedom to experiment. And with that, they increased the trait cap by 5. Tomes of Knowledge now grants scrap and experience once you've reached the trait cap. Orb of Undoing now has unlimited uses, and players can sell any extras for scrap. So this I really like. I think having this, just being able to kind of re-roll whenever you want, I think is a great approach to it. Now this one right here, removing the trait requirement for equipping a second archetype, I really like this change. Because before, right, you had to reach a certain threshold in order to equip your second archetype, and it kind of sucked, especially if you got one that you were really excited to use, but you had to sit there and grind out the current one, reach a certain point, and then at that time you could equip your second one. So removing that altogether and just allowing you to equip it whenever you get one, I think is going to be better in the long run, especially for newer players that are really excited to start kind of mixing and matching. They also removed the scrap cost for converting a mysterious item into an engram. This is another thing I really like. So for instance, let's say you wanted to go buy the Challenger, right? That like metal kind of chunk or whatever from Reggie. So you would go buy it for 1,500 scrap, you would take it to Wally, and then Wally would still have to take 1,000 scrap from you in order to convert it into the engram so you can actually use it. And it was just kind of a bummer. So it just, you felt like you were getting double dipped. So removing that and just going from 1,000 to 0 to making it free is awesome. Now they also lowered the Luminite cost for converting an item into an engram from 10 to 5. Again, I think this is a great change. And then increase the scrap gain from a variety of things, breakables, chests, aberrations, reduce the cost of Bloodroot. So these are all good things. Let's talk about balancing. Okay, so Explorer got buffs. So increase the duration of the Scavenger buff from 15 seconds to 20 seconds, increase the duration of Gold Digger from 15 to 20, increase the healing amount of Gold Digger Healing Fountain from 1.5 to 2.0 HP per second. So Explorer, seeing nothing but up arrows. Archon, same thing. So the Archon's Havoc Form Lightning Hands went from 28 to 56 damage. The Havoc Form Blink damage went from 100 to 150, and they reduced the cooldown from 120 seconds to 90 seconds. Now, they said that these changes are in response to a bug that allowed Havoc Form Lightning Hands to deal insane amounts of damage. So they made some overall adjustments to compensate, and I feel like this is the proper way to do it. Right? You see so many games that are like, hey, we fixed this bug, and you see Havoc Lightning Hands go from tippity top to absolutely just in the trenches, in the sewers, and it's terrible, no one uses it. So this is a good way to approach it. Hey, let's buff, let's find somewhere in the middle, especially since we fixed this bug. Challengers, so they adjusted the damage fall off for the Challenger's Close Quarters perk. So at max range, the Challenger will always maintain a 10% damage bonus to all damage. So this just a buff. I mean, you're always gonna get that 10% damage bonus. So not much to say there. Handler, they increased the Pack Hunter range from 25 to 40, and they increased the max health of the Dog Companion. So always good. And then the Summoner got their base max health of the Hollow and the Flyer variant increased. So guys, it's been basically buffs all the way down the list for all your archetypes. So let's talk about weapons. Okay, so RIP fire rate on Nightfall in Standard and Dreadwalker fire modes. So Nightfall is that long rifle. It is a semi-auto, and when you activate the mod for it, it turns into a fully automatic weapon, and it shoots incredibly fast, and it deals a lot of damage, and it heals you because it has lifesteal. So here, let's talk about something else. So Nightfall was dealing far more damage than any other weapon in both modes, almost 20% more with Dreadwalker active compared to other guns with their mod active. So it was just standing head and shoulders above the rest. When considering damage and mod ability, which makes it harder to hit, life siphon, and the fire rate, it was pushing Nightfall too far above every other long gun. It now sits closer in line with other high damage weapons. So they didn't nerf it to be below, they just tried to bring it in line. We'll have to see how it plays out over time, but for now, Nightfall did get a slight nerf. Okay, Enigma. I'm sorry, guys. I'm absolutely sorry. This gun is fantastic, but we knew it was too good to be true. It was one of those things that was going to get looked at because it was literally in almost every single person's loadout, including mine. It was a fantastic weapon. It dealt a ton of damage and it chained everywhere. So they reduced the AoE burst damage of Enigma's overload from 40 to 30, slight step back. They reduced the subsequent tether damage of Enigma's primary fire from 75 to 65, another slight step back. They reduced the magazine capacity from 30 to 25, a little kind of adjustment here, and they increased the total reserve capacity from 120 to 125. So you don't have as much in the clip, but you have basically the same amount of ammunition. Now, the problem here, right, is Enigma does have a long reload time. So you're going to be reloading more often, and you're not going to have as high uptime when it comes to dealing as much damage. So here's the dev note here. Enigma was performing too far above our goal for AoE clear. I would say so. It literally deleted almost everything. So a few adjustments were made. This is still an issue, or there's still an issue with it ignoring armor, which will be addressed in the future. However, when that happens, we'll reevaluate the numbers. I'm guessing for the armor thing, they're going to do something similar to what they did with the Archon, which they're going to fix that bug, right? They're going to provide a buff to compensate for the bug that ignores armor. Okay, so in terms of enemies, they reduced the damage on the Nightweaver's grab attacks for the wall and the lunge. I would say so. That fight just was not a fan. They adjust the hitbox on Master Dulian's tongue attack. Again, this is something I noticed. You would dodge out of the tongue attack and you'd still get hit, and you're like, what is happening? So they adjusted it to match the visuals, which I think is fantastic, especially in a game like this. Okay, multiplayer though. Okay, so we got reduced incoming damage in multiplayer from 25% per additional player to 15% per player. So you're gonna be a little bit stronger, more tanky in multiplayer, which is always good. Now we do have a ton of bug fixes out here. I mean, we have a ton. So let's read the ones that have the dev notes attached. And there's a lot of progression blockers out here. I would highly recommend going and checking these out just to make sure, hey, was there something that was blocking your progression that's now fixed? Now I can continue moving forward. So just go out here and check those out. So they address an issue with players not receiving achievements in multiplayer games. This will not retroactively reward ones. So that's something it sucks, but it is what it is. But you can now receive those achievements. Fix an issue with weapons not unlocking after a hardcore playthrough. Again, these will not retroactively be awarded. And same thing with this one, where they fix an issue with weapons not unlocking after completing playthroughs at different difficulties. Cannot be retroactively awarded. So just keep those in mind. These things are now fixed, but if you were expecting to get, one of these or them to show up in your inventory, it's not going to happen. All right, let's see. Players who listen to all of Mud2's stories. So this is something I've seen quite a few people comment on my archetype video, where they are saying, I listened to all of Mud2's stuff and he never gave me what I needed. So there was an issue here apparently. And now players who have listened to all Mud2's stories will be able to go back, and the iron cylinder will be in his store. So go to Mud2's store and you'll be able to purchase that iron cylinder and unlock the gunslinger. This is a big one. A huge one. I saw this all over the place. So the issue has been fixed, which was preventing Explorer and Archon armor from appearing on the vendor. So players will need to first convert the appropriate Engram and get that at Wally. But once you unlock the Explorer and the Archon, then you'll be able to go actually purchase that armor now from Whispers. So be sure to go check that. I know this was a huge thing, especially when you're trying to get the Archon and you couldn't get the Explorer outfit. It was a pain. So this got fixed. Hopefully that helps everybody out, but let's keep moving here. So that wraps up the issues. Let's move into the archetype section here. We talked about this. They fixed an issue with the lightning hands. Casting speed now properly ramps up without going to infinite. They also fixed some other issues, especially with this one, Invader perk Shark. So that is now applying its damage bonuses. Previously it was not. Again, I saw a few comments on my Invader video talking about this. So this has been fixed. So here we have some gear and items that got fixed. Nothing too crazy here. Some visual effects, things like that. Same thing here. So nothing too crazy. And then some miscellaneous fixes down here at the bottom. So anyway, let me know in the comment section below, guys, what you think about this one. I've been having a blast with Remnant 2. I have more videos coming on this. But let me know. And as always, thank you so much for watching. This has been Vulkan, and I'll talk to you guys next time.